Today's highlights is going to be a general 30,000 foot analysis and a quick micro of, we talked about it in the room. Dave, who shares a lot of input, myself, Tom talked about as we move along, reaching for yields. What does that mean? It means investors can't put their money under the mattress, so they have to reach for returns. And that's where the stock market's been the beneficiary, not just the last few months or month, the last 12, 13 years since the financial crisis. Yields go down. They've been trying to creep back up. They get hit again with the COVID crisis. And right now, you got a situation is where do you put trillions of dollars? And it's been in the stock market. So the buy the dip has been now starting to become a recurring theme. It had been the recurring theme for over a decade. And then obviously all the volatility with the lockdowns globally, you had all these bridges that had to get built in order to get people from where we left off in late February, early March, before the lockdown, until we're starting to have trying to have a soft landing in many of the states and countries around the world, reopening. And as we move through the phases in some of the states are further along than others. And we keep getting, there's maybe more cases because there's more testing, but the outbreak and the hospitalizations, I want people to watch, because that and the amount of people that unfortunately, the fatalities that are created, because those numbers has nothing to do with how many tests that you perform. If people die from this coronavirus at an alarming rate, that to me is a signal of maybe a lagging indicator. And I don't like to use numbers to attribute human death, but it is what it is. Hospitalizations, I think, is more of a leading indicator, because people getting it is less of a fear factor than it was. Hospitalizations is what we always locked down for. Originally, it was to keep the healthcare system from failing, so that 70, 50, 60% of the population, 30% of the population doesn't all get sick at once, and so many people require hospital care. So that's what originally this was for. That's what you have to keep your eye on. People getting it or people requiring hospitalizations are two different things. And that is what the smart money and what investors look at to tag the success of these reopenings and the worry of a flare. Now, what we've been getting is transitional moments. You hear me talk a lot about transitional moments are important, whether you're a short, medium, or long time frame trader or swing trader or investor. Transitional moments. When does the other side say, holy, you know what? You get a little bit about this while we're watching as I'm talking right now. For now, we had a transitional moment. We called right in here before this big rally, told people you got to be careful being short now, even though the downside was the right side all in there. Once we had this jump before we had all this, and it was the shorts stuck, and they just weren't given a chance to get out until maybe now when they get hit a little bit. And it was just, you had to know that down there instead of having to wait up here. Got it? Now you have this consolidation box getting breached as we're talking in here. These three green profiles generally will create the notion that longs are exiting, and less longs, less selling above, an easier chance to drift back higher. Just keep that in mind. But I wanted to make this highlight video kind of a macro look at, as we now are getting to be 6 weeks, 7 weeks, 8 weeks from the first states reopening in early May. You start to look at, wait, is there an outbreak? The number of cases is different than hospitalizations, which is different than fatalities. And then you'll have people where you'll always the fall, you're going to have a bounce as the weather gets cooler. You're going to hear that, how the vaccine's coming along, therapy, all that stuff with the protesting could reduce fear if in a week and a half, 2 weeks, there isn't an outbreak with the large gatherings that we've had, not just in one city, 2 cities, but like 40 cities, several states. Markets are watching this, because if you could clear the health of people, you could march towards the wealth of people. And that's the difference between late February, early March, and into the summertime. So be careful, stay safe. Remember, that transitional moments, if you're going to look to buy a sell-off, understand your risk. Are you buying a knife? Like in here, all this did was hesitate the market. Didn't stop it. Bears are in control for the time being. I do believe they take off the top around 11, 12, even in the S&P, and grind higher. But you got to be careful measuring your risk, knowing what you're buying. Is it a knife? Are you fading? Or are you fighting?